Yes, folks, I don't know if you saw this, but yesterday the Bank of Canada was the first of the G7 nations to cut rates. They moved rates from a 5% to 5.75%. Note there's also a 35% chance that the Bank of Canada will cut again in July. Not to be outdone, the ECB this morning also cut interest rates for the first time since 2019. They cut rates from 4 to 3.75. Note that the market also expects the ECB to cut one more time in 2024. We're going to talk about what this means for the U.S., what it means for the dollar, what it means for trade, all of that in a minute. But one of the things that I want to highlight is I think it was interesting in both cases, both Canada and the ECB. In both environments, they cut even though inflation is proving to be sticky. For example, in Canada, they cut interest rates even though shelter inflation is still reported at 6%. So again, there's been a long thought process, again, that the Fed will cut rates in the United States long before it hits target. Canada has given us an example of that, right? Again, they cut yesterday, and in Canada, the shelter inflation is still reading at 6%. All right, now, okay, so that's Canada. What about Europe, European Central Bank? Well, it was really interesting to read what they had to say. So again, they gave a cut. There's expectation of one more cut, but they actually they raised their expectation for inflation, not only in 2024, but also 2025. Before this meeting, they expected inflation in the ECB region to be 2.3%. After this cut, they now expect it to be 2.5%. Fast forward to 2025, they also upped their inflation reading from 2% to 2.2%. So again, ECB, Europe, Canada, certainly not the US market, but it should be interesting to us, interesting to you and I, as now proof versus theory that central banks will be cutting rates before they hit some published target, right? They are looking to play, if you will, 3D chess, and they will be cutting ahead of time. So let's talk about the United States. We obviously have a very important jobs number tomorrow. Tomorrow's jobs number has the ability to make a September rate cut likely or very unlikely. Tomorrow's number. What do I mean by that? Let's talk about what is expected. There is an expectation that the jobs number, I want to make sure I have it correct. I think it is 175. Yeah, 175,000 is tomorrow's expectation. Let's play this out for a minute. So 175, also important to note that the expectation is 3.9%. So if you are one like billionaire Barry who wants and is begging for rate cuts, you want tomorrow's jobs number to be something like 113,000, so a significant miss, something by the order of 30%. And, this is an important and, you want the unemployment rate to go up to 4%. You want to get out of the threes. One of the things that I was finding very interesting is if tomorrow we come in at 3.9, that would be something like the 85th month we are below 4%, which is wild to think about. The last time that happened is the 1950s. We did a whole thing yesterday about the 1950s and the 1970s. I got to admit, I am shocked at some of the similarities that are coming through. So pretty wild to think about. So again, tomorrow is a very, very important day. Hey, I want to give a shout out to all of the ORAT fans, all 80 of you, and more to come, I'm sure, who show up for these daily live streams. You guys are amazing. I love all the comments, the hellos. I love the community that all of you are. So I just want to let you know that I see you and thank you for being here. An all-nighter. Enjoy your trip or your excursion to Alaska. Go catch some fish. We'll see you when you get back. So again, folks, we are seeing things that really make the whole comparison with the 1950s and 1970s. It is something I have to look into. Maybe, it happens all the time. My over-rotation to the 1970s is just a recency bias. I am old, but I'm not 1950s old. So again, I don't have that history. So again, I will do some more research on that. But again, going back to Friday, sorry for that right turn. I just wanted to recognize and give you guys a shout out. So tomorrow, you want to be billionaire Barry. You want a rate cut in September. 113,000, 4% unemployment. Let's say the jobs number comes in at, Josh, thanks for the super chat, man. I appreciate you. So let's just say that we come in at 190,000 and the unemployment rate stays at 3.9. Well, no September rate cut. Not happening. I think it is that binary. Because again, you got to remember there's a June meeting, which happens next week. Forget it. No rate cut, no rate increase, none of that. Then there's a July meeting. It's too soon, right? They don't have enough data for that. And then the next meeting is September. So we need a bad, an ugly, a nasty jobs number tomorrow to bring a September rate cut on the table. I think you have to watch. There's a very special video, a midweek update coming for you at 9 o'clock today. 9 o'clock today. So in about 2 short hours, Dan Bird just did a midweek update where he's basically saying the market is calling a weak number. So 9 o'clock. Set your alarm. See what Dan has to say. I won't steal all his thunder, but yes, you're going to want to watch that. So again, we're going to have to watch the jobs number tomorrow. Be very, very important. I want to shout out the school community, folks. If you haven't joined the school community, you are missing out. We are now over 105,000 students, which means we will start releasing special content just for school. I want to give you an update on what is coming on school. Today, 7:30, 25 short minutes. You're going to get the opportunity to ask questions of somebody in the big multifamily space. Now, he has experience with hundreds, 200s, 300 units, but you and we want to ask questions about the 5 to 50 unit. How do you network with bankers? How do you go out and find these deals? Folks, the greatest wealth transfer is coming, and it's in 5 to 50 units. You need to be in the group. You need to be asking questions. So you're going to get that opportunity with Jonathan Twomley. And that video, if you miss it, no big deal. If you're part of school, it will be available in school later today, right under the special guest classroom section. On top of that, because we got over 100 school members, I sent a note out to the community and said, who would you want to interview? You guys said you want to hear from Greg Dickerson. Greg Dickerson, if you don't know who he is, was a longtime Monday guest for One Rental at a Time for like 3 years. Big fan. He said, yes, he would love to come back to talk to us. So if you are in the school community and you want to hear from Greg Dickerson, what he is doing to take advantage of this environment, 8 a.m. It's already scheduled. It's already locked in. 8 a.m. Monday morning, you're going to get the opportunity in school to interact with the one and only Mr. Greg Dickerson. On top of that, geez, I just keep giving more and more. That's my goal in school, is to exceed your expectations. We had a school member ask, Michael, I want to interview you. I want to ask how you had a big, busy tech leadership job and how did you do it back in the day? I said, great. We're going to do a Saturday session. You know I don't do very many Saturday sessions. We're going to do a Saturday session at 8:30 a.m. where this young man is going to ask me questions, and I'm sure we will have time for your questions. And then lastly, on Sunday, we've got the uneducated economist. So just in the next 4 days, you're going to get 4 opportunities to ask questions to help move your business forward. That's what school is for me. It's the place that takes real questions from real people about right now and helps move you forward. So you are sleeping on school. It is cheap at $20. You got all the master classes and much, much more coming. So I hope to see you there. And of course, you got Greg Dickerson on Monday as a special thank you and surprise. Let's talk about some earnings. We got some earnings that were very important. We got Lululemon. Obviously, Lululemon missed pretty bad last quarter. They actually came in with beat top line, beat bottom line. However, they didn't issue the rosiest next quarter guidance. It was weaker than expected. Five Below, don't know if you shop at Five Below, but man, they had a nasty quarter. Five Below missed top line, missed bottom line, and had a very weak forecast. They are blaming the macro environment, which hurt their core and lower income consumers. Yeah, sounds like an operational miss to me, but hey, whatever. Costco reported May sales. Costco sales are up 8.81% in over year on year, which is very impressive. Folks, I don't know if you caught this very important interview with the one and only Lisa Song Sutton. Lisa Song Sutton is somebody who's helping me buy properties in Las Vegas. She also is an attorney. She was a practicing attorney in 2010 in bankruptcy. We had an interview yesterday published on the channel at 6 o'clock talking about a 30% spike in Chapter 7 bankruptcy liquidation. We talked about comparing that liquidation cycle today versus what she experienced in 2010. And the most eye-opening part to her is today's liquidation versus 08 is from employed people. Folks, stimulus ballers got stupid. Bought the extra car, bought the boat, did the stupid things. And now they are going BK. This is what we have talked about for a long time. You want to know why credit card debt is so high, all these other things? It's because the stimulus ballers went out and only lived once. Now they're paying the piper and they are going to go BK. If you don't know what Chapter 7 bankruptcy is, it is liquidation. It is like a fresh start. So you should expect credit card discharges to skyrocket. You should expect repossessions to skyrocket. You should expect, if you ever wanted a toy, toys are going to go on sale. This is what happens in a cycle. Consumers get stupid, and then it gets cleaned up. The people who were conservative, they have dry powder. You want a toy, go for it. So again, great interview. Lisa is very, very knowledgeable. Nice to have the lawyer on attorney, a lawyer. I don't know. Is there a difference, attorney, lawyer? I have no idea. But she was very grateful for coming on. It was a nice conversation. What else do we got? Oh, U.S. market, talking about rate cuts. The U.S. market is now up to 2 rate cuts in 2024, with the first one in September. I'm gonna stick to my guns like I like to, because I think I owe that to you. I don't like changing my opinion with the wind. I'm gonna stick with my one rate cut and my one rate cut in November, but we will see. And then the last thing to talk about that I didn't hit is weekly jobless claims. Weekly jobless claims up more than expected, up to 229. Last week was 221, and the forecast is 220. So again, not concerning yet, although as someone who is concerned about the job market, I am watching the weekly number carefully. This could be the start of an uptrend. Not saying it is, but it could be. And then the last thing I want to talk about is something I saw on Twitter, or X, or whatever we call it these days. There was someone who said, hey, I don't get it. We are having all of these tech layoffs, but yet the unemployment rate isn't moving. I don't get it. Well, folks, as somebody who's lives in the Silicon Valley, somebody who has lived through many boom and bust cycles, let me give you an example of exactly what happened. All right, let's rewind the clock. 2021. Just, that crazy time in our life. We have all these tech companies who are flush flush with cash. Flush. What do you do if you're a tech company and you're flush with cash? You hire people because that's what you do. As we know, they overhired, but that's the story for another day. The problem in the Silicon Valley is if all of these tech companies are flush with cash, you start competing for talent. It's a very small pool of talented resources that you could poach. So you know what you do? You start hiring people from services industries and you start training them up. So what happened in 2021 is we took people who were in the services industry and we made them white collar. We turned them into tech employees. Guess what? Didn't have the education, didn't have the training, too hard. Then you have to go through an overhiring, and guess who you let go? Those individuals. Now, what do those individuals do? Well, they probably got a severance, but they just go back to the services industry from where they came. So again, anytime you have a mass cash infusion and you're all competing for talent, you're going to absorb talent from new spots. And when you have to release talent, you're going to let those talent go back to their old location. So it's a story that's been repeated several times in the Valley. It's nothing new, but if you're not paying attention, you might have missed it. So again, folks, time to join the school community. A lot of you have been probably thinking about it. We're now over 100 people. I told you, I warned you, once we got to 100, there will be very unique content held and housed only on school. You're going to get Jonathan Twomley in a minute. You're going to get an interview with me on Saturday, Uneducated Economist Sunday, and of course, Greg Dickerson on Monday with more and more stuff to come. All right, folks, take care of yourself. Have an amazing day. I'll see you in school. Later.